All right, let's talk about Chase Claypool. Remember him? He was someone who was drafted with a second round pick. I think a lot of people thought exceeded those expectations, and then was traded for what ended up being the first pick in the second round in this previous draft, which a lot of people felt like, well, wait a second, this still feels like a bit of high value now that he's lost a couple years of his rookie deal. But the Bears desperately wanted help for Justin Fields. They feel as though Claypool can do that. So let's talk about, can he do that? Because again, the numbers weren't overly pretty when he was with the Bears, and that's definitely going to get a lot of criticism. But let's talk about what Claypool can do, what he's capable of, and how well it helps Chicago. So one thing that he definitely was able to do a pretty decent job of, I would say, would just be the simple stuff. And I'm going to show a couple plays with Trevor Siemian and then get into a couple plays with Justin Fields, because again, his best game was actually with Siemian, which is maybe, you could argue, concerning that he didn't have the chemistry with Fields, but you could also argue the contrary, argue that, hey, he was doing well in the system, it's just a coincidence that Fields wasn't there. I'll let you be the judge. But this play, I mean, you see it on the screen, relatively simple play, as you have the, play action. Simeon's going to roll out towards the top of the screen. Claypool's job, just try and get in a gap in coverage with the, players moving in with the play action and with the rollout. Hopefully there's a window for, Siemian to hit Claypool here. And as you see, I mean, Claypool on this route, going to do a very good job of just, again, getting open, finding a bubble, and being able to make the grab, and then, really takes a big hit right there, too. He was complaining about potential helmet-to-helmet hit. From this angle, it looks like it was, but, I didn't see I didn't go back and check the slow motion to see if it was or wasn't. The point of it, though, he does a very good job of just getting into the simple stuff. He's definitely someone who can do the simple stuff. And again, do you give up pick number 32 for a guy who can do the simple stuff? Well, not everyone does, for sure. But you know what? The Bears, again, they felt like they needed someone who can help out Justin Fields. And while we can talk about the value sort of at the end of this video, and was that fair value, there's no denying getting a guy like that on the team as just someone you can trust to be like a solid receiver definitely made the Bears, receiving core feel better and feel like a better receiving core. And also, there's stuff like this play where this is something that the Bears just straight up did not have. Again, they had some solid players. It's not like this is a receiving core with no good players. Every receiving core has some talented players, right? But they did not have anyone who could do this with any consistency, which is win on the outside. It's a cover 3 zone. Chase Claypool running a go route on the outside. That's the way this play works. So really, just a true one-on-one matchup. That's the way that, it's, hey, can our best receiver beat your best corner? And when you're going up against Sauce Gardner, usually that answer is no. However, as you see here, you're going to see that Claypool is able to get the outside leverage, and Sauce Gardner eventually actually interferes with Claypool, but Claypool still comes down with the football. So yes, he can find ways to win in these situations, and that's very good to see if you're a Chicago Bears fan, because, again, is he DeAndre Hopkins? No, of course not. But you know what? Having a guy who can do this just means a lot to your offense. Having a situation where you can feel pretty comfortable that if they do play a single safety deep coverage, you have someone who can win their one-on-one matchup and pick up a decent chunk play. What that does is it can kind of force teams to feel, like they don't want to play those coverages. And I'm assuming this play is actually exactly why the Bears went out and drafted Claypool. They know teams are going to play a lot of single safety deep coverages. You have Justin Fields on your team. They're not going to be playing too high coverages. They're just not. So getting someone who can win in these situations is crucial. And I have to imagine with the addition of DJ Moore, having Claypool as a number 2, which is really where I think he should be. I think he should be a number 2 receiver, not a number 1 guy. Now he can go up against number 2 corners, and then he could potentially really have a breakout year for Chicago. Like this one's going to be another example where this time, let's talk about Justin Fields throwing to him, right? Justin Fields actually giving the ball to Chase Claypool instead of, the situation of having it be Trevor Siemian, who, because again, Siemian not going to be throwing the ball, we hope, very much to Chase Claypool. We're hoping for Justin Fields to be the guy doing it. On this play, you're going to see that, very similar situation, right? Single safety deep, one-on-one matchup. And again, you're going to see that Claypool is able to win this matchup a little bit. It's not an easy throw to make, and this ends up being a throw that I would say is a pretty good one. Was not complete, but there was a flag for pass interference, so don't worry about that. Again, drawing the pass interference is just as valuable as making the catch, and this is something that Claypool brings to the table that they just didn't really feel like they have another guy to be able to do, and I think he could be an effective number 2 receiver for the Chicago Bears, again, because they have a number 1 now too, which is very good. So is he valuable? In my opinion, yes, he is very valuable. Now, I also got to bring up some other stuff where it felt like they just didn't really know what to do with Chase Claypool a lot of times, and I think that's maybe why the production lacked a little bit, is they almost expected him to be like Tyreek Hill or something out there. They thought he was, they thought he was this elite receiver, when like, no, he's a good number 2 option. That's what you want him to be. Like something like this, I just don't know what you're thinking here, really, running a jet sweep with Chase Claypool. Well, that's unfair. I get what they're thinking, and Claypool's fine at this stuff. Like, watch, they're going to hand the ball off to Claypool, and Claypool's going to end up picking up eventually 4 yards on this play. Did a fine job, and they would run screen passes through him as well. And I don't want to say that they were bad plays or anything like that, because Claypool is probably one of your better options at being able to do that stuff. It's just he probably shouldn't be, I guess, is my point. I don't love the idea of him having to kind of waste carries and waste energy getting hit doing plays like that when he could instead be using that energy doing what he's good at, winning down the field. But this just kind of goes to show how much they just desperately needed a receiver who can do stuff last year and really needed some help on Justin Fields, I thought. And so I can kind of understand why they did stuff like this. Again, it's not something that I would have done necessarily if I was the Bears. I think I would have saved him for a different different routes, but I get why they did it. But the main point is that if you put him in a better situation, I think you'll see his overall production get better as well. I think he's someone who needs to have other guys around him, so he doesn't have to be a complete do-it-all wide receiver. I don't think he's a flawless receiver. I don't think he can do as many things as DJ Moore can do. But when you're now in a situation where DJ Moore can be kind of your do-it-all receiver, and Claypool and Mooney can kind of just do what they're good at, this is how you can get the most value out of someone like Chase Claypool, and maybe he could live up to the draft capital that you spent on him. Now, again, a lot of people might say, well, wait a second, why are people freaking out over the draft capital? You know, as I mentioned earlier, he was selected with a second-round pick, and most people feel like that was kind of a steal of a selection. So, you know, it's second-round pick here. Well, okay, first off, not all second-round picks are equal, right? The Bears didn't know they would be the worst team in football at the time. They knew they'd be picking top 5 probably, so certainly they knew it was going to be a top 40 pick at the very least, that they're giving up. But also, it's just the contract situation of he is now going to be on his last year of his rookie deal, and again, was a second rounder, so there's no 5th-year option, so he's just a free agent after this year. You can tag him. There's ways you can extend him, of course, and I'm sure that they will, but still, that's something you have to do now, right? And if you do tag him, you can't tag anybody else. You only get one tag per season per team, so that's definitely something that they're going to have to pay attention to here. But again, I get why they did it, and well, was it a little bit of an overpay for Chase Claypool? Yeah, it was a little bit of an overpay in my opinion. But you know what? When you're trying to develop a young quarterback, overpaying for weapons, not the worst decision in the world, and you could argue is actually a smart decision. So I totally get why I did it. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Claypool and how effective I think he'll be next year. Could see him, don't totally sleep on him next year. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, find it interesting. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.